Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am happy to share with you today Dr. Shirlene Reeves. She has been awarded the Exceptional Woman of Excellence 2019 by the Women's Economic Forum. Dr. Shirlene is an international best-selling author, a media personality, and motivational speaker. She has trained under the amazing late Dr. Wayne Dyer and many others. You just have an amazing background, Doctor, just amazing.
Thank you, Paula. I'm so excited to be here with you today. You're just such a jewel out there in the universe.
Thank you, thank you. And I'm so honored to have you on the show. Please share a little more of your background and possibly what's inspired you to be where you're at today.
Okay, I'd be happy to. I came from dumpster diving to diamonds. And there was a time when I only had 15 cents in my pocket and rice and beans and a tiny little 18-foot trailer. And at that time, I had my two small sons with me, and they were 7 and 3. And it was such a difficult time because I didn't know what I was going to do in my life, because it's hard when you have children and you know you could work, but then by the time you work and pay for daycare, you don't make any money anyway. Have you ever thought about that? I mean, it's so expensive.
I've experienced that, yes.
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 And so one morning, the three of us, I had heard the night before that the grocery store not far from us was going to throw watermelons out into the dumpster. And that if we got there early enough, we could get a watermelon too. And I said to the kids, oh, wouldn't you love to have a watermelon? And they both went, yeah, I want a watermelon, of course, right?
Yes.
And so we walked down to where the store was and stood out and back. And as I looked over in the direction, there was to my left, there was a bridge. And I saw all these people coming out from under the bridge. And I was standing there watching, and so were my boys. And one was going into the dumpster at a time and trying to muscle a watermelon out after they found something.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood there and watched, and then this thought came into my mind that said, you don't belong here, and you don't need a watermelon. And just about that same time, my oldest son said, I don't think we need a watermelon, Mom. Let's just make do with the rice and beans. And then I got another message that said, go to work, just go to work. And you won't have any more problems. You won't have to be standing here trying to get in a watermelon. And not only that, but why isn't just one person getting in the dumpster and handing all the watermelons out? Why does everybody have to dive in? And then it came to me. That's the sign of a leader. A leader will think beyond what is happening right in front of them, and they get the inner guidance from within and what to do next. So we walked back to the trailer, and just as we walked up to the door, a really nice woman that I had met a few days before that I'd spent some time with said, you know what, I think you need a caretaker for your boys, and I'd be willing to watch them for free if you want to go to work.
Oh, wow.
So that's what I did. And what happened is I sat down and I really talked about, I jotted down on a legal pad, a yellow legal pad, the exact things that I needed to do, how I needed to think differently, and where I needed to go to make a difference in my life and the life of my boys. And since that time, I've followed those steps and I teach those steps to others. So I went on to start I bootstrapped my business from zero to multi-millions after I'd worked at this job for a little while. And I had ended up with 23,000 people working under me, and I had that company for 17 years. So then I thought, why not teach others how to build a business like I built mine? And it all starts with how you think about life and your thought processes as you move through the building of your business.
Wow, that's an amazing story, Dr. Shirlene. Oh my gosh,
And I've
that's
never been to a
amazing.
space station. I
Yes.
swore that was
And I
never.
understand what you're saying about daycare. When in my 27 restaurant years, and managing it, you work long hours. And then with daycare, so what I did for several years was I remodeled my garage. I opened the Fun Times Daycare, hired a full-time employee. And so during the day, Monday to Friday, I was doing daycare and nights and weekends at the restaurant.
Wow.
And we had very little money. We were just, getting by, but those were some of the funnest years of my life.
Well, I can't say they were fun. I worked long hours.
Yeah.
And I just kept
Yeah.
guided in the next step, one step after the next.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh, well, what do you think, Dr. Shirlene, is, what holds people back from financial freedom and abundance?
Well, I really think it all has to do with their thought process, because I was just writing an article on this today that I'm going to put up on LinkedIn about people who they may read scripture, they might read a book about the power of positive thinking, and all that is very true. But statistics show that young people can get an idea and they'll hold on to that power of positive thinking for maybe 4 days. Older people can only hold on to it for maybe 2 days at the max, and then they forget about it. Have you ever had affirmations or something like that you were saying, and you start off strong and you really try to hang on to it, but then after a few days pass, we get knocked off of our center, so to speak, and we forget about it completely? Have you ever had that experience?
Well, actually, I do affirmations every morning, and I've done them for years, and I've never had that problem. But I guess when I began, I knew I had to continue it and it would get habitual. And so that's what it became for me.
Uh-huh.
It's like, oh, wait, I haven't done my morning affirmations. And I sit down and do it. So really, I think because I've done them so long, it's a pattern for me. But that's the thing. You can easily start something like affirmations and that and do it for a few days and, oh, I missed it today. Oh, I missed it again. And then you let it go. I agree.
Yeah. And I'm very impressed that you would hang on to them for that long, because it's
Thank you.
so you're an unusual, beautiful soul.
Oh, thank you. They make me feel good. I feel so good after my morning affirmations.
And I spend my mornings about an hour and a half, either writing or interacting with the messages that I receive. And a big part of the problem that people are challenged with now is that they don't sit quietly in order to hear the messages that they could receive to make them successful. And if they don't get those messages, their emotions are ruling their behavior. And this is what I find with all of my clients, is that there's something in their past, and it started when they were very young, and it's a difficult emotion to deal with. And sometimes people's um, life stories repeat over and over and over again. And if you don't notice it and listen to guidance and it's your own inner guidance on how you should accomplish something, you'll just keep making the same mistake time and time again. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. And it's so true that we all have inner guidance. We
Yes.
all have intuition, and is easy to kind of just block that out because we're so busy with everything else. But when we take the time and really make an effort to be open to that, oh my gosh, the doors that can open and the messages that can come to us, it's
Yeah.
amazing. I agree.
Everything shifts. And
Yes.
a lot of people right now are, well, just always are so worried about not having enough money, not having enough money to retire, not having enough money to do whatever it is that their goal is. But the reality is, if they were listening to their inner guidance, they would always have enough money. It's the mistakes that we make that cause us to lose sight of our financial freedom. That's exactly what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and there that comes, with, I think, the glass half full. When we look at what we do have instead of what we don't have, I really think that helps us get more of the good that we have and what we're grateful for. It
Right?
really is a focus. It
It,
really is.
that's
Yeah.
exactly. If you don't focus in, that thing you hear in the back of your mind that you really don't want to do it all. I mean, I have a really good example for you. I was living up in San Diego, and I have this house that I'm in right now down in San Felipe in Baja. And it's a wonderful place to be because I'm right on the beach. So I can take walks in the morning on the beach, and there's nothing I love more than being a part of nature. And I was perfectly happy in San Diego. I didn't want to move to Mexico. And I just kept hearing this message: you're moving, you're moving, you're moving. And then I sat down with a girlfriend for a cup of coffee, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh, you didn't tell me you were moving." And I said, and I never had mentioned anything, nothing. And I said, "What do you mean I'm moving?" And she goes, "You're moving. When are you going to go?" And I happen to know that if in my lifetime I've learned that if I get a confirmation on something that I've heard in my mind, then I know that's something I'm supposed to do. And that was my confirmation. And I said, "Well, do you happen to know where I'm moving?" And she said, "No, I have no idea. I was thinking you were going to tell me." So that, and I cried before I came here. It wasn't my intention to come here, but everything has shifted in my life since I did come here. And it's all been for the better.
Wonderful. I'm really curious because he was so amazing. I saw him once years ago. What was it like training under Dr. Wayne Dyer?
Oh, he's a marvelous man. He
Ah,
was, I should say. It was a terrible loss when he passed. And I worked with Ram Dass too. They were friends on Maui. I lived on Maui at that time for 5 years, and I spent a lot of time. I think one of my favorite stories that he told, that Wayne Dyer told, was about this hummingbird that came and landed on his finger. And because hummingbirds don't land on anybody's fingers.
mhm.
And I was so surprised. And he had witnesses to this effect. And he was just such a gentle, loving, caring being. He really was. And I learned so much from him. It was just amazing. I learned a lot from many authors that came over. Michael Singer came over, and I remember sitting on the beach with him. And at the time, I was going through a divorce, and he told me one thing in particular, and that's what I really loved about these people, is I got something special from each of them. And Michael Singer told me, "People are watching to see what you do."
Yes,
And
yes,
I've never forgotten that.
yes.
So I've always, everything that I practice with my business, with the Authors and Speakers Visibility Playground, I try everything before I ever teach it to find out if it's really going to work or not. Because I have this strong belief that you never hire a coach that isn't doing what you want to do. because there's so many out there. All they've done is taken somebody else's trainings and converted them to their own, but they've never done it themselves. And how many coaches out there do you know that haven't really built a business, but they want to teach you how?
Mm-hmm.
You'll never get there.
Yes. I, that's so exciting that you trained with him in Maui. I've taught Reiki classes in Maui, and my favorite little place to go is the little town of Makawa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to spend a lot of time in Makua.
Yes. Yes.
I lived
Some really great energy there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's such a blessing for us, the people we meet in our lives, the people we can receive training from, and that, affects us and affects our growth. And then, when someone such as you becomes a coach, then you're helping others make a difference in the growth of their life. It really is a beautiful and it's a giving pattern.
Right. And I have a lot of what Dr. Wayne Dyer taught me in Selling Through Your Heart, my book. And that's probably why it's won so many awards, is because it has that feeling, even though it's talking about how to build your business from a heartfelt perspective, it also has a lot of perception based on what Wayne Dyer and Ram Dass taught me also, about how to work with people, how to be connected to people, how to be a good listener. All those things are in that book. And people say, wow, it's just like you're talking to me.
Yes.
I love that.
So what is the difference between building a business with a heart base compared to a mind base? Or do you find balance in that? Tell us about that a little bit. How would you describe that?
That's a great question, Paula.
Thank you
for asking that. Just moving 18 inches down makes all the difference in the world. When you think with your heart, you're thinking about the global experience, what's happening with others, how you can support others. It's not about you as a person. I mean, I'm just a person in general. I'm not talking about you specifically, but right. It's not about you. It's like, let me use an example with my group, okay? I mentioned it before, the Authors and Speakers Visibility Playground. It's about lifting the whole community. If they participate in there, what do I do? They're on my shows, correct? That's how I work with them. And so all I ask is their participation, and then they get to be on my Ask the Expert show or my Heart-Based Business show. And then I also have a business mastermind that I offer for free, and I'll give them an opportunity to speak on what they do best in the mastermind also, all based on their participation. Yes. If it was a head-based program, I wouldn't be there much of the time. I certainly wouldn't be offering a free mastermind, and I probably wouldn't have those groups that I can offer to help elevate others in their business. It's a whole different perspective. It might be like, here's a perfect example, car companies. It's all about their car. It's not about the benefit that you're going to receive for driving that car. They might say, oh, the body style is fabulous and you'll enjoy sitting in it, but it really doesn't give you any perspective as far as growing others at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. And I really believe that when we are heart-based and passionate about something, it just makes such a huge difference in what we accomplish and the connections we make. It really does. And it really opens up a lot, I think. It does. And it benefits everyone, doesn't it?
It does. It benefits them, and others introduce you to other people that can support you. It's not a me perception. It's a loving, caring, supportive perception, much more so. And when I say selling through your heart, people go, wow, that really resonates with me. How do you do that? That's why I named the book that title, because
Great title.
I want to know how to shift their perception from their head to their heart.
Yes, yes. And that's powerful. You know, that does make a really fantastic shift. I love it. I love it. Well, as we go into our last few minutes of the show, Dr. Shirlene, what last messages do you want to share with everyone before we say goodbye?
Well, I really appreciate you asking me that, because I want to talk to you about getting your mind right. That's what's really important, so that you can funnel that guidance in and stop making mistakes. You know how we have these repeat lessons that show up in our lives, we go through it, we get to the end, and 2 days later the same thing happens again with different people with a different situation. It's bizarre. And it's really repeating because we're pulling our past into our present in an effort to make set decisions about our future.
Mhm.
When we aren't listening to the guidance that we have within, because we're so powerful. This is not a God thing. This is not a religious thing. This is listening to your inner guidance so that you can stop making the mistake and recreating the same patterns over and over again.
Yes.
And people say to me, but how do I do that? So let me give you a quick little something to give you an idea of how that can be done. You might remember earlier that I mentioned about the emotions. Do you remember me talking about that?
Yes.
And them coming up at a young age. There's something that happens to people between the ages of 5 to 7, and those emotions trigger this life challenge that you have for the rest of your life. And you wear these emotions here, and they're always looking for something that's going to hurt your feelings or you're going to react to that you wish you never reacted to. And if you can get this out of your mind, and you know that you are trying to shift in your mind, but it doesn't work because it's an emotion that's deep within. So if we don't learn to manage our minds, we just keep making the same mistakes over and over again, and it sets us back every time instead of helping us move forward.
Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is, look into your childhood, find out what it was that really triggered these constant scenarios that are coming up over and over again, and then find a way to get that out of your system. And it can be done, but you might need a little help. Sometimes you need a little grease to help you get to that next level, and that's what I do really well.
Yes, yes. Please share with everyone how they can learn more about you, your website, how they can get a copy of your book.
Sure. My book's on Amazon. It's Selling Through Your Heart. And you can reach out to me and read more about me at bit.ly/mind management consult. And I'd love to offer your audience an opportunity for a free consult if they'd like to have some help trying to figure out what that childhood challenge was, so that you can work on it and move forward. Does that sound good?
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh,
Hopefully you'll have the link and you can put it down below. And this works for entrepreneurs, it works for parents, it works for employees. I've had so much success, and you'll even see on that page testimonials from clients. It's men or women, doesn't really matter.
yeah.
It works for all of them.
Works for all of us. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Shirlene.
You're welcome.
Love, hugs, and blessings. And to everybody out there, thank you for joining us. Love, hugs, and blessings. Have a great day.
Namaste.
Namaste, honey.